Who is to blame for that performance last night? We'll start with you, Jamie. Who do you really think is to blame for the performance last night?
Yeah, do you know what? I've kind of put a tweet out as well that I think a lot of people are to blame for this one. I think you can almost blame all three parties. I think, you look at obviously the defending, I thought was really poor. And watching back the goal, I've seen us concede that goal on numerous occasions. I think I even put kind of a thread up on my Twitter of seeing, I remember Orsic, when he scored in the Europa League against us, just ran through the right-hand side of our defence. I think there was a goal we conceded against Sporting Lisbon earlier in the season where just a lack of desire to kind of put a tackle in, and some really kind of just really shocking defending. And so obviously the players do take a certain credit for that in terms of letting us down. I think maybe the intensity was really poor. I think for a lot of these players, they should be desperate to win that competition. They should be desperate to kind of end that wait for a trophy. And they didn't look like they really wanted it. So the players take the blame. I think the manager has to take somewhat of the blame. To rest Christian Romero and Harry Kane, that for me really frustrated me yesterday. There's obviously this talk, we should be good enough to beat Sheffield United, but look, how many times have we rested key players and gone out this competition? And we've got to realise that if we want to win it, we've got to play our best players. So that was a frustrating one. I think it's tactically, again, to kind of to play with the same way as we always do against a team who are in the Championship. I think that was frustrating. I think we should have been good enough to go up there and attack them, especially when you're playing such attacking wing backs as well. You've got Perisic and Pedro Porro. You should be looking to attack them. So I think there again, obviously the managerial team have to take some of the blame, and then of course comes back to a bit of the ownership as well. I think we know their approach to this cup competition. We know that their priority is on getting into that top four, is doing well in the Champions League. They don't care about the FA Cup. Realistically, that's not the one that's going to bring them the money. And then, of course, year after year, we have the same defenders letting us down. I mean, you look through since like 2016 or so, the same defenders, Ben Davis, Eric Dyer, Davinson Sanchez, all part of the defences that knocked us out this competition. So, I'm not exactly pinpointing one for you there, unfortunately, but I really believe it's kind of a collective blame there. And that's I've blamed a number of people there. So yes.
Yeah, I think you're completely spot on. And when you say those games since 2016, I mean, I've written a list of them now. I wrote a list of them this morning of these games, starting off with Poch's loss to Colchester on penalties. You had Sanchez, Dyer, Tanganga, Davis, and Lucas in the starting 11. Poch's 2-0 loss to Palace in the FA Cup. Sanchez, Dyer, Lucas all starting. Jose, when we lost to Norwich on penalties, Dyer, Sanchez, Lucas all starting. When we lost to Zagreb 3-0 under Jose, Sanchez, Dyer, Davis, Lucas all starting. Under Nuno, we lost 1-0 to Vitesse, Sanchez and Davis both starting. Mura 2-1 under Conte, Tanganga and Sanchez both starting. Conte 1-0 loss to Middlesbrough, Dyer and Davis starting. This season against Nottingham Forest early on the season, Dyer and Sanchez starting. And then obviously last night against Sheffield United, Dyer, Davis, Sanchez and Lucas all starting. So Brian, it's always the same names, isn't it?
It is, mate. Let's just look at this. Manchester United, Rio Ferdinand and Nemanja Vidic, Steve Bruce and Gary Pallister. Chelsea, John Terry and Carvalho. The Filth, Adams and Bold. Campbell, Judas and Torre. Liverpool, Hupia and Carragher. Alan Hansen, and I think it was Terry McDermott or someone playing alongside him. These are defensive partnerships that spend a long time together because they are good, because they are brilliant. They get the job done and win trophies.
Yeah.
That record that you've just given, how is this allowed? Any other big club, you can't get the job done. Like they say with managers, you've taken us as far as you can go. You're gone. We need to get further. It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace, and yet we're still talking about giving Eric Dyer a new contract so he can stay for even longer, to add more of those cup exits that he's played a starting role at centre-back. But like I said, you know where I put this blame. Lock, stock and two smoking fucking barrels where I put it. But the what I will say is you've got to add to this as well, these players, how you cannot get up for an FA Cup potential quarter-final when this has opened up, like England did with the World Cup in Russia, when the big teams were getting knocked out and it was pretty plain sailing, how you have got no determination, no passion, no hunger, no commitment to go and put out a performance for this match, to go and try and make silverware. You look at this, and I said this yesterday, we used to take the piss out of Arsenal, going 7 years and you won fuck all, 8 years and you won fuck all. How embarrassing. How embarrassing. We're at 15.
Yeah, and counting.
We're at 15, and these players, and like you said, Sheffield United, who are going for promotion, made 8 changes. 8 changes. We should have known. Listen, we've had managers knock us out when they're in prison, and now we have one that looked like he was standing on the roof from what the cameras. He didn't, obviously, weren't on the touchline, but the players, listen, that front three was shocking again. Dan Juma is now getting the Jed Spence treatment. Oh, we wanted him in the summer, but we couldn't get him. Oh, but we can get him cheap on the loan in that. Oh, you're getting minutes, aren't you? You've come to our quality and depth. Oh, yeah, you're doing what? It's, mate, the players need to take a hell of a lot of responsibility, but who signs the players? Who brings them in? Who signs the checks?
Yeah, it's true. And the fact of the matter is this is a consistent theme that keeps happening. We haven't gone past the 5th round of the FA Cup now for, 5 years? Which is a joke when you're looking at the teams that have knocked us out, when you're looking at the Norwiches, the Middlesbroughs, the Evertons. And that Everton game was probably our best performance of the season, by the way, that year, and the Jose. I mean, these teams that we're going out to consistently, time and time again, it's just nowhere near good enough from this football club. And what Stellini was saying yesterday in terms of the mentality is not there. They turn up thinking they've won the game. I mean, yeah, fine, that's not great from the players, and you don't want that from any player coming into an FA Cup game specifically. But surely you've got to look at the management for installing that mentality into them as well. What do you think, Sim?
I completely agree. I think the manager, I think the players feed off the energy of the coaching staff for sure when it comes to this kind of stuff, and then the coaching staff go by how they're being judged. And when it comes to these kind of games, you're going to yesterday, obviously for the fans, we look at it as a massive opportunity to progress, and we obviously want to go to the FA Cup. Well, look, we look at it as a big chance to actually get a trophy. But if you're Conte and the coaching staff, and they're weighing up how they approach this game in terms of team selection, and obviously we got a lot of games coming up. You can't play Kane every game, you can't play these players every game, so you got to pick and choose. But for me as a fan, like if we rest Kane and or on the weekend, or Romero on the weekend, and we don't get a result, then you still have time to recover that. You've got another 12 games after that, and we're in a decent position in the top 4 anyway. Even if we lose the game, we can still put up a fight if we go on a good run. And with Man City playing, Newcastle playing Man City on the weekend as well. But in this game, if you lose, you're out the cup, and you have no way of winning a trophy. Pretty much, it's pretty much our last avenue of winning a trophy this season. So for me, I would have prioritised this.
We're going to Istanbul, man. Come on.
Yeah, look, we'll go into that in a minute. But look, obviously, I wanted us to prioritise this game because I really wanted, by hook or by crook, to make sure we get through this game, and we've got a serious chance of going all the way in this trophy because we've already beaten Man City this season. You never know if we come up against Man United.
Blackburn at home, we would have got to go to a semi-final.
Exactly.
Of the FA Cup.
So that obviously, so I think it definitely does. I think the whole thing, the whole mentality of between the players, coaching staff, and the board for sure contributes to this. But if when I go to the players, obviously the goal was pathetic in terms of the attempts to tackle and the attempts to try and block that shot. We just allowed him to weave his way past 3 players in a tight space, and no one puts a challenge in. And also the keeper as well. I mean, I know he was a bit unsighted, but he didn't cover himself in any glory as well with his attempt to save it. It was a shocking goal. But when it comes to how the game went in general, I have to say, I feel like the Stellini the selection in terms of that front three, like it kind of, if logically, it was never going to work. You have 3 players there who are all more comfortable dribbling with the ball at their feet, not really very good at link-up play, and then we're surprised when they're not linking up with each other. Like there's no passing in between the strikers. I think if you're going to play Richarlison up front and rest Kane, you have to play Kulusevski on the right, because there is without Kulusevski, we can't go into a game without Kulusevski and Kane. We have to play one or the other, because they're the only players in the front 3 who are going to get the ball to feet. actually have a bit of creation, actually have a bit of ball retention. Son, Richarlison, not as much to extent Lucas, but Son, Richarlison just give the ball away for fun up there. They can't make it stick. They're just giving the ball away constantly. So we got no ball retention when we're going into the front line with that front three. But you could see that from a mile away. You could see if you're going to play a front three of those three, we're never going to have that ball retention, especially when we don't have creative midfielders. So for me, it's not a surprise that those three. Like, it worries me when I hear Stellini after the game say, you know, we had Son, Lucas, Richarlison, that should be good enough. And I'm like, yeah, individually they're very good players, but you should have known that was never going to work as a three. Go on, Jamie, you're going to say something.
I mean, they're also three players that just aren't used to playing with each other. They've not played a great deal, regardless, individually. But together, you know, you're never going to have a front three that's going to fully function if they're not used to playing with each other. And that's what we saw yesterday, I think, as well. We kind of seen players, I think Son at times was almost playing in midfield, and we saw him trying to run, you know, same with Lucas Moura. There was no one kind of running in behind as well. There was no difference in that front three as well. So again, that was something that's frustrating. And yeah, just having that continuity in the attack or a lack of continuity, I should say, was what let us down big time.
But wait a sec,
Yeah,
guys. Wait a sec, guys. Can we really use this excuse though up against a Sheffield United team that made 8 changes in their lineup?
So, Sim, this is why, I mean, Ben, sorry, what I want to say as well is I'm getting sick and tired as well of hearing Stellini, and Nick and I were listening on the drive home yesterday when we left the studio. We were lacking energy. I'm sorry, you made 6 changes. You should be in the peak of your powers right now, and you were concerned about a lack of energy. There are Spurs fans like yourselves that didn't get home till 2, 3, 4 in the morning today. What do you reckon would happen if they called their managers up and go, yeah, not coming in work today, I'm a little bit drained and lack of energy? They were like, well, piss off then. Don't come. You're like, goodbye. Why is it acceptable? Listen, the managers have got to come in for some of this as well. The same excuses, a lack of energy. We have a lack of energy because we're not rotating this squad. We don't have the quality to rotate this squad. And with people like Dan Juma that you brought the quality in, for some God knows reason, you don't want to play them. So it's the same bullshit excuses again.
Yeah, and I think with the management as well. First of all, when it comes to in terms of selection as well, just going on to Sanchez. I mean, without Romero there's just no defender on our team who's going to actually go and win the ball for us and actually get us on the front foot. He is the only one in the squad. So when you don't have him there, like it felt like Sheffield United could just keep the ball for fun, and we weren't able to actually get in, especially when they got forward, we weren't able to actually nick the ball off them and actually put us on the front foot. You had Sanchez, who pissed me off every time he fouled Billy Sharp. I was like, how can you not dominate someone like Billy Sharp, who must be like 33 or 34 now?
37.
He's 30, oh, bloody hell, 37. He's 37 years old. He's never been a Premier League striker his whole bloody career. And every time he gets the ball, Sanchez is fouling him and allowing Sheffield United to relieve the pressure every single time. And that just did my nutting. And obviously, him getting tackled by a ghost as well, that obviously didn't help his cause. And then, but not just even his individual quality, but it's just his profile. He's never going to go every time. Like Romero would dominate in those situations and actually win the ball back, and we can sustain some sort of pressure. But when we had Sanchez there up against trying to win the ball off Billy Sharp and continually fouling him all the time in those situations, it just completely broke up our momentum, and that really also. That was also a real worry. And then I think the management didn't manage the game very well. I thought the subs were really poor. I thought poorly timed, and I actually thought personnel-wise, like, whatever we want to say about Lucas, he was our brightest attacker on the day, even though he was pretty poor himself. I thought he was the brightest player, so I don't know why he's the one who got hooked off. I actually thought Pedro Porro, in a funny way, was just starting to get an influence in the game, and then he got taken off. I thought he was actually starting to find positions, finally, just before he got taken off, where he was starting to hurt them, and then he took him off and put Kulusevski wing back, and then we had nothing on that side. I thought the substitutions were poor. My opinion as well. They didn't manage the game well.
I think as well that right-hand side was such an issue for us. I mean, Porro, I do feel a little bit sorry for him. Obviously, defensively, I think he's still going to learn and got a lot to learn in that sense. But, you know, when you're playing, you've really got Davinson Sanchez as that right-sided centre-back, and then you're teaming him up with Pedro Porro. That's always asking for disaster. And again, that's kind of a little area of the team where I think they just got it wrong. And Ben, I think you do make a great point. It should be good enough to beat Sheffield United. So this is again where I do think the blame does go everywhere. Really, obviously, tactically, I think we did get it wrong, and I think the players' attitude was just really poor, and really just so disappointing.
Yeah, absolutely. And, at the end of the day, right, you're talking about the Tottenham team yesterday, a team pretty much full of international footballers. I mean, Davinson Sanchez plays for Colombia. All these players pretty much play for their national sides. And you're talking about a championship side that played their second string against us, against a team full of internationals. But having said that, I came out of the ground yesterday saying that team on the pitch was good enough to win that game yesterday. But then after that list I read out, it happens way too often and time again. So maybe I was wrong, and they're clearly just not good enough. What do you think, Brian?
Well, what I'd say, like kind of what Simeon was saying just earlier, if you look at it, with our attacking three, any three we put out should be good enough to see off a Sheffield United team, with no disrespect to Sheffield United, who were actually brilliant yesterday, and they deserve a lot of credit. As bad as we were, they were good. But you would think that starting three, Richarlison, the number 9 for Brazil, Heung-min Son, all right, he's had a woeful season by his standards, and Lucas Moura, or if that had been Kulusevski, or if that had been Danjuma, you would have thought, right, that's enough. But when it comes to that back three, like Simeon said, if Romero's not in it, we're fucked.
Yeah.
You would think with that forward line, that three is any three should be able to do a job. But that defence, no Romero, no clean sheet, no Romero, no defence. It's shocking.
Yeah, and we all knew about Pedro Porro's defensive frailties before he came to the club, and I think we've done him a bit of a disservice. The 2 games we've had him starting for us, one of them we got Tanganga right centre-back, and the other one we got Davinson Sanchez at right centre-back. I mean, we need to play it with Cuti Romero if we're going to play him with anyone, surely, Jamie.
The other point I'd say as well is I've always kind of made this point about the defence. Every top team, you start to build the team from the back, and then from there you're going to build forward. You build the foundations first, and the foundations are the defence. And we've just never kind of built those foundations. We've stuck with Eric Dyer, we've stuck with Davinson Sanchez, as we mentioned, we've stuck with all these rubbish players, and that's why I don't think we're ever going to be able to play a high line. We're never going to be able to play on the front foot because we can't trust the defenders that we have, and I think that's why we play such turgid, rubbish football. It's so defensive all the time because we can't trust them. So that for me is such a fundamental issue at Spurs. Our central defenders just are not good enough to put our trust in. So yeah, another really horrible area that the squad.
Yeah, I think we saw at Leicester because at Leicester we actually played a high line. We actually were attacking, and then what happened? We got absolutely destroyed. And the only way we compete is when the game is like a bit of a battle there, and we have to try and win the details and just make sure that we're not getting opened up and give ourselves a chance. And yeah, I agree. A lot of people complain about the football, but they've been complaining about it for the last 3 managers. Is it just all the managers' fault? I don't understand.
It's not all
the managers' the whole stuff about the first half and why we start so solid, because we can't take the initiative to go and attack teams, as I said, because we can't play that high line, and that for me is again another reason why we have been such slow starters, because as you said, Sim, when the game eventually does open up, the other team maybe come at us or come sit back a bit deeper and allow us to come onto them. That's when we can attack, but we just can never take that initiative to go at teams, and that comes down to defence.
All right, so I think
a lot of blame to go around.
Yeah, we can all agree that the blame can go around to everyone, pretty much the coaching staff, the playing staff, and most definitely the board for keeping these defenders here for so long, to be honest.